That's fine with me.
Okay.
Because I need to colloquy him as to other things too, like the fact that he's not gonna take the witness stand and all of the normal
Yes, Your Honor.
things that you would, when I say normal, I mean in a non-penalty trial, in any criminal trial, all of the things that I would go over with the defendant. I sort of hadn't thought of that, because there's specific things that go to a penalty phase. So that's fine, we can come back on Monday, what times?
Monday afternoon.
That would be perfect, Monday at 1:30.
Thank
So we'll put that on the docket, and that gives us time so all of the staff can be ready. So, just while we're waiting, I believe what we said, now that I've written it out on the calendar, is that you all will close and they'll start deliberating the week of the 10th, barring any unforeseen circumstances.
Hope so, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I need to, when we serve the motion, should we send that to your email also, not just Nicole, or?
She is checking her email, but she doesn't technically have to because she's on medical leave.
Okay.
So why don't you,
Send it
if
to
you
them.
can send it to me also, that would be great.
Your Honor, in an abundance of caution, and I know this sounds nitpicky.
Okay.
But, having the defense rest before the defendant is colloquied is probably not the best procedure to follow.
Well, then why don't I do a general colloquy? Because I have to be able to tell these jurors why I'm excusing them on a Wednesday at 10:57 in the morning and they're not coming back for 14, I don't know how many days it is, 12 days. Or they're gonna think that I'm just inconsiderate of their time.
We can list some witnesses.
We can, and if I could suggest, Your Honor, that there were representations made by the defense that there were going to be 80 witnesses called, and if you would kindly express that to the defendant. There was medical testimony, there were statements made and opening statements by Ms. McNeil regarding evidence that was going to be brought out that is apparently not going to be brought out. And we can go over the doctors and whatnot that were listed. We can go through that later. But I think it's really crucial that there's some colloquy with specificity now.
Okay.
Judge, may I just have 60 seconds to make an objection to the colloquy?
Sure.
I'd be relying on United States versus Jeffrey Vanderwalker, 141 F. 3rd 1451. And essentially our argument is that there is no law supporting the fact that the court should question the defendant regarding his agreement with the defense decision to rest at this point. His constitutional decisions that he's entitled to make are whether to plead, whether to testify, and whether to appeal. But according to this case that I just cited, having the court inquire into strategic decisions made by the defense invades the attorney-client privilege and his right to effective assistance of counsel under the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, we're not trying to invade attorney-client privilege here. We're just trying to protect the record and protect the defendant's rights and make sure that we can go to the next step of these proceedings as what would normally be done, Your Honor. And this is done in every other case where we have a penalty phase and witnesses are listed and not all of them are called. In case the defendant is sentenced to death, this will come up on a 3.851 and we want to be sure that the record is intact.
I agree. Mr. Cruz, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly, actually I already put you under oath this morning. So you're still under oath, do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir, your lawyers have indicated that you're going to rest your case That means that they're not going to call any additional witnesses. Have you had the opportunity to discuss this decision with your lawyers?
Yes, I have.
And have you had enough time to consider this decision?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with this decision? Is there any witness that you know of, either listed or not listed, that you feel needs to be called by your lawyer or lawyers that has not already been called?
No, ma'am.
And do you understand, we had a motion about your brother testifying, and his lawyer came, and we had a hearing on it, and based on your decision to rest, your brother's not gonna be testifying. Do you understand that?
Understand, ma'am.
Do you understand at a later time, you can't come back and say, hey, my brother was supposed to testify? The courts are gonna tell you you waived that right to have your brother and any other listed or non-listed witness testify in this matter. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand you would have the opportunity to testify if you so chose?
Yes.
Do you understand by resting, you're telling me, Judge, I don't want to testify in this case?
That's correct.
And I will instruct the jury that they may not consider that in any way whatsoever, because that's your right under the Constitution. However, I need to make sure that you are comfortable with that decision. Are you comfortable
Yes.
with your decision?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened or coerced you into making that decision?
No, ma'am.
And you've had an ample time to discuss your lawyers, the pros and cons of all of your decisions that you're making here with them today?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you feel that they've included you in these decisions that are specific to your case?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, if I could just
Sure.
take a few minutes. The state filed a witness list. The defense, in doing their witness list, said they would be filing, or they would adopt any witnesses on the state witness list, and that's already part of the record. But if I could read off these witnesses, I know it will take a few minutes, but I think it's time well spent.
Actually, the names, and you can read whatever names, but you should know that the names of the potential witnesses that the defense was very adamant about me reading was an upwards of, what, 2,000 names?
Yes, they were read at the beginning of the case, but this is the defense witness list, and there's not 2,000 on here, but if I could.
It's a more specific
Yes,
list.
Your Honor, if you would just indulge.
Absolutely. Mr.
Okay.
Cruz, you're listening, right?
Yes,
You
I
look
am.
like you're listening, I just need to make sure. Okay, the state's gonna read off the witnesses. Please pay attention, because if there's any name of a person that you may not realize right now wasn't called, or you may not have thought about it, and you may say, wait a minute. And if you need additional time to speak to your lawyers, if you need additional time to think about it, you let me know, okay?
I will.
All right, thank you. Whenever you're ready, Ms.
Okay, thank you. Deborah Gray, Kevin Aaron, Dr. Richard Adler, David Augusti, Victoria Alvarez, Albert Anderson, Richard Anton, Jessica Appel Quintoni, Ted Arboleda, Justin Augustus, George Austin, Dr. Lisa Avery, Geraldine Avila, Ashley Baez, I'm sorry, she was a state, Baez, she was a state witness, Sherry Valgarian, Janine Scott Barella, Julian Barrion Nuevo, Paul Battaglia, Clover Bedway, Brian Behan, Melissa Belizaire, Regina Billow, David Belzar, Ben Benight, Dr. Pradeep Bihai, Jared Biedel, Dr. David Black, Dwayne Black, Kirk Blackson, Kathy Blaine, Cameron Blanchard, Rebecca Bogart, Tara Bone, George Bonilla, Elliot Bonner, Dr. Natalie Novick Brown, Jonathan Brown, Frank Bulgar, Timothy Burton, Vanessa Burton, Alfred Butler, Christopher Caldwell, Lisa Campbell, Giovanna Cantone, Ina Cantone, Francis Copray, Corey Carbacci, Juliana Carrion, Dr. Wesley Center, Scott Champagne, Leonard Charla, Graciela Chermurinsky, Eric Chang, Brian Childs, Dallas Chisholm, Moises Cobo, Amy Cohen, Dr. Deborah Collins, Roberto Colon, Heather Connor, Deborah Cooper, Dana Craig, Christian Crawford, Danielle Crawford, Anna Crean, Zachary Cruz, Jeffrey Curtis, Zachary Davies, Felice Winston Davis, Kim Davis, Tanisha Dawkins, Jessica DiCarlo, Jack DeSheen, Nicholas DeFrocia, Nicholas DiGiovanni, Anna Del Barrio, Rick Delgado, Dominic DiMartino, David Dittman, Ian Doriot, Brian Doherty, Marianne Dubin, Anthony Dubois, Hunter Dubois, Camille Dumornay, Edward Eason, Elia Eastman, Gregory Edlund, Sharon Ehrlich, Christopher Fahey, Kevin Fanti, Amin Faraj, Jeffrey Fadouk, Augustin Fellman, Derek Fernandez, Todd Fitzgerald, Cammie Floyd, Erin Foley, Latonya Vondren, Walter Foster, Jason Foddy, Cliff Fromer, Carlos Gambino, Pam Gallen, Anthony Garcia, Destiny Garcia, Gerard Garcia, David Garipi, Georgia Garnecki, Marnie Garvey, Alfred Garris, Marcy Geller, Angelica Gilmartin, Emily Goldstein, Carmen Gonzalez, Lee Gordon, Louis Gordon, Sharia Green, Sarah Greenberg, Kyle Green, Kelvin Greenleaf, Raziel Gertie, Joel Gardino, Zachary Gorino, Alyssa Gomez, Trajan Guntus, Kurvins Gustav, Mary Hamill Field, Georgette Ham, Jeff Heinrich, Mina Vierholzer, Megan Hill, Dwight Hodgson, Richard Hoffman, Laurel Holland, Heather Holmes, Dr. Heather Holmes, Dr. Toby Sue Hope, Jermais, Walter Howard, Nicholas Uricchio, Erica Polajenko Irohita, Kathy Jackson Hunsucker, Brittany Jacobs, Susan Jacobson, Alicia Hamarillo, Stephen Johnson, Hank Juntunen, Anthony Katsikis, Rona Kelly, Michael Kenny, Robert Kenny, Philippe Khalil, Francine Kierman, Stephen Kaminsky, Michael Kratz, Kimberly Krozik, Krista Kreminski, Timothy Langolier, David Lara, Michael Leonard, Amanda Levison, Michael Leeds, Antonio Lindsay, Bruce Link, Ross Lobatin, Martha Luthen, Jamie Lyons, Christina McDonald, James McLean, Lucas Magel Case, Peter Mahmood, Tanisha Maiden, Ariel Maldonado, Luis Marchese, Sarah Margolis, Michael Matenzo, Chris Matthew, Nicholas Mazzell, Stephen McCutcheon, Christopher McKenna, Andrew Medina, Aloisi McKinday, Joan Menke, Eric Mezia, Timothy Metz, Nicolette Michiota, Robin McCow, Alexa Meadnick, Brad Mock, Gail Monahan, Gil Monson, Richard Moore, Dorothy Moore, Jacoby Moore, Jeff Morford, Carlos Mufti, Scott Myers, Amy Nast, Matthew Navratil, Kevin Nitch, Barbara No, Ryan O'Malley, Roger O'Prey, Nirma Ortiz, Karina Osio, Joseph Parsons, Valerian Perez, Georgie Pacheria, Scott Peterson, Vincent Peterson, Joel Phillimore, Jeffrey Podwika, Chris Paulyard, Winfred Porter, Records Custodian of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, who's unnamed, Denise Reed, Dione Reed, Jomi Reed, Sandra Rennie, Christina Reyes, James Reyes, Philip Reynolds, Reed Ricard, Stephen Robson, Juan Rodriguez, Justo Rodriguez, Mark Roge, Lauren Rubenstein, Ania Sabadini, Jody Sampson, Melinda Sanchez, George Schmidt, Michael Sipo, Daniela Shaw, Stephen Sinkoff, Lexi Smith, Madeline Snyder, Dr. Lawrence Steinberg, Christian Swinson, David Taylor, Gerald Tormain, Marie Michael Delburn Pope, Joanna Bowles, Michael Wagner, Kelly Walker, Stephen Wexler, Brian Wilkins, Clint Williams, Joshua Willis, Felice Winston Davis, Christopher Worth, Billy Ray Woodard, Chance Woodard, Jacob Zalka, Eric Zamora. Anyone else? And those are the witnesses, Your Honor, that the defense has chosen to forego, and that it should just be on the record that those witnesses were listed and they have chosen not to call them.
Okay, Mr. Cruz, I saw that you were paying attention when the state was reading the names. Those names were also read by me to the jurors. Are there any of those people that you feel need to be called before you rest?
I don't know who those people are. And I trust my lawyers.
I'm sorry?
I don't know who those people are, and I trust my lawyers.
I can't hear the second part.
I said, I don't know who those people are, and I trust my lawyers.
Well, you know who Zachary Cruz is,
Yeah, it's my brother.
and there was, what was the,
Richard Moore.
I know Richard Moore.
Those are pretty much the only two people I recognize.
Well, you've heard Dr. Heather Holmes because we've litigated, I don't know, every single day. You know Dr. Holmes.
I can always say that.
Okay, and you know, obviously the doctors who evaluated you, you know those doctors, correct?
I don't know their name.
Okay, but you would know, you know who they are. You could say, the doctor with, you know, the mustache who came in and asked me X, Y, and Z, why aren't you calling that doctor? Even if you don't remember the name, you know who the person is, correct?
I can always say that.
Okay, so is there any doctor that you met with or any doctor that you recall that you feel needs to be called in your case?
No, ma'am.
And many of those were BSO deputies. Is there any BSO officer that you feel needs to be called that hasn't been called?
No, ma'am.
So there were doctors, there were BSO deputies, there were,
Civilians, Your Honor.
I don't know the context of the civilians because I'm not privy to all of the discovery like you all are, but.
And Your Honor, these are witnesses that the defense has had investigators work up this case. They have vetted the witnesses, chosen who to put on their witness list. They've made a strategic decision at this point as to what witnesses were effective in front of the jury, and assumably they've done this to make an effective presentation, and it's their decision to rest at this time.
Okay, so here's the bottom line, Mr. Cruz. I understand you don't remember all those names because I don't remember all of the names.
And Your Honor, if I could interrupt for a
Sure.
moment. If the defendant would like to take a moment and speak with his lawyers, if he has any questions about any of the names that I have read off, that's agreeable to the state.
Sure, I'm just give me 1 minute and I will do that. So, Mr. Cruz, even though you don't maybe know the person by name, if there's any person that you remember either meeting with or talking with your attorneys about, anything to that effect, you could always describe the person to your lawyer, as in what happened to this person or what happened to that person. Is there any person that you recall being listed as a witness or having met with or having discussed that you may not know their name, but you know who they are and you feel that that person needs to be called?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a few minutes to speak to your lawyers in private, okay, so you can make absolute sure. Would you go to the white, my son, please?